Hey guys, thank you for coming to today's author chat. We are talking today with the author of many titles. We are going to be talking about this book today as well as others, the amazing Alex Flinn.
Hi, good to be here. I just want to show off. We were talking before this started about the coronavirus, and I just wanted to share that I thought I was going to do in-person events, so I bought a Jacaranda mask, and I'm not going to get to wear it, so I just thought I'd show it off. It has the Jacaranda, the purple flowers on it in honor of my book.
Party. Well, guys, you know the drill. If you are watching this, you can toss your questions in the comments below, and I'm actually going to be giving away my ARC. I don't think this one's signed to me. That's like, maybe I should have checked that first. Yes, it is not. Okay, so you guys can win this copy of the book. It is open to US only because of shipping charges, which is insane right now for overseas. If for some reason you cannot comment in the live chat, you can tweet out to me, toss it on Instagram, DM me. You can toss it wherever, and I will find your question. So we're going to get right into this. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I know we've been
for having me.
We've been friends on Facebook for I don't even know how long, and I was just like when I asked you to come on the show and you were like, yeah, sure, I can come on the show. I was sitting out in the living room and I just completely screamed, and everybody like comes running in like, are you all right? And I'm like, I'm fine. I'm fine, because it's, you know, you are like, you know, what I would consider an A-list author. You've had a book turned into a movie, you know, not the general person to come on my show, because it's
thank you, that's very sweet. Well, it's great to be able to do events like this, you know, especially this year with it being so hard to get out there. So thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
No problem. So we like to start off the show with a little information about you. Tell us about, you know, who you are, how many books you have published, and your journey to becoming an author.
Okay, I'm in Miami, Florida. This is my 14th book. My last one just came out in paperback, and it was Girls of July, which was a fun summer book. And I did, as you mentioned, have a book that was made, that's it. Yeah, I have a book that was made into a movie, Beastly. It came out in 2011 with Vanessa Hudgens, so that was pretty exciting. And my very first book, which came out in 2001, Breathing Underwater, is still in print, still getting read in schools, so that's a lot of fun, and I've been very lucky.
That's awesome. So why did you want to become an author?
It's funny, when I was 5 years old, I remember this very vividly. I was sitting in the family room with my mother, and she was filling out one of those little books, those little memory books that you have for, it said Alexandra's school years, and it had different spots for, you know, what was your favorite subject, who were your best friends, and it said, when I grow up, I want to be a blank. And it asked that every year, and I was in kindergarten. She said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you know, I was 5, so I hadn't really thought very much about the subject. So I said, I don't know. And she said, how about an author? And I said, what's an author? And she said, an author's a lady who writes books. And I said, oh, okay, I liked books. So I said, fine, I'll be an author. And from then on, she was very serious about that, and she always encouraged me to write, and even, you know, even sent things of mine to magazines, which never got published. So, you know, so if there are people out there who have sent things out and they haven't gotten published, that doesn't mean that eventually you can't, you know, have 14 books out. So I always thought that eventually I would write a book, and I did other things. I did musical theater and opera, and I eventually got a law degree, but it was always kind of in the back of my mind that someday I would write a book, and eventually I did.
That is so cool. And I promise, guys, this is not liquor, it is water. I was waiting to get stopped by a cop earlier when we were in the car because it looks like vodka or something. It's like, nope, just water.
Well, I save the wine for my book club.
That is so awesome. Oh man, how much I wish I lived closer to your way so I could join your book club. That would be amazing.
Well, who knows? We might be on Zoom for the foreseeable future.
It's so crazy with everything that's going on. I'm waiting for Florida to just completely close down again.
Right. Somebody in my book club was pressuring me to do an in-person meeting. And she was like, "Oh, we can do it. We can do it outside." Her husband has a restaurant that has
Oh,
an outside
wow.
area. We can do it socially distanced. And at the last minute, I just kind of said, no. I heard about somebody who got it from like just such a gathering. And
Right.
just yesterday, someone in my book club emailed me and said, "Oh, I have coronavirus." So I was thinking, okay, we would have been in the news as the book club that all got coronavirus. So.
Man,
Lucky.
that scares me because I'm still working and people are coming into the bookstore because I work at a used bookstore over in Lakeland, and like nobody's gotten it there. So fingers crossed.
Are they wearing masks?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's
It's mandatory in Lakeland right now.
That's good.
It's not mandatory in Polk County, but
Oh, well, good for Lakeland. I know a couple
yeah.
of authors who live in Lakeland, so
Oh,
they
that's cool.
seem very active. Fred Kaler. Do you know who
Cool.
he is? He's an author illustrator.
No, I don't think I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's younger kids' books.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably have to look at the covers. I'm a cover person, not a name person.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Okay, so of all your titles, which one holds a dear place in your heart? If you could only pick one.
If I could only pick one, it would probably be Breathing Underwater which was my first book, because I've had a lot of girls. It was about a violent dating relationship. And I've had a lot of girls come up to me and say that they broke up with their abusive boyfriend because they read the book, or boys writing to me saying that they saw themselves in the book and realized that they needed to get help for their anger problems. So that was really, I know I should choose Beastly because of, the sales, and my publisher would say that I should choose Beastly.
I did say to your heart, not your pocketbook. So
right. Although I'm pretty fond of this book, Love Jacaranda, as well. So, yeah.
And what if you had to pick a character?
Well, I always enjoyed Kendra, who is one of the characters in Beastly and a couple of other books. She is the witch that turns the main character Kyle into a beast in Beastly, which is the Beauty and the Beast story. And there's always, in every book that I write, there's kind of a character who represents me, who's just kind of, the observer, and, maybe not so much, having maybe not the cool person that you want to be. And Kendra is that person, that girl that I was in high school, except she has magical powers, so she can smite her enemies. So that's kind of cool.
I love what they did to her in the movie, like to start and then to finish when it was over. Like because I know it's one of the Olsen twins. I loved what they did with her wardrobe.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. People said, "Oh, well, Mary-Kate Olsen doesn't look like the way you described, Kendra in the book." But I said, "Well, Kendra is a shapeshifter, so she could look like Mary-Kate Olsen."
I would totally live in all of those outfits like forever.
Absolutely.
Let's see. So this book is in an interesting format. It's in letters, which I've never actually read a book that was actual letter form. Why did you decide to use this format to tell the story?
Okay, well, Love Jacaranda is a reboot of an older book, Daddy Longlegs by Jean Webster, which is kind of dated at this point because it was written in 1912. And it's about an orphan back when they had actual orphanages, who goes to college, and the author had gone to Vassar, and it seems like this girl's also going to Vassar, and she gets sent there by a mysterious benefactor, and she writes him letters about her progress, and he never writes back. So it really feels more like a diary, because it's not like a correspondence where people are writing back and forth. She's writing and thinking that he's never going to read the book, the letters rather. And so I thought that was a fun format. And so in this book, I made it emails, and I really liked that because you could hear about what the character thinks about everything, with maybe it unfolding in a different way. I like experimenting with different form. Breathing Underwater was also a diary narration, and the sequel, Diva, was the main character's blog. A lot of it.
Oh, that's cool. Well, I liked it. It was very interesting because I never really read anything like this before in this format. So it was definitely something new, and it kind of catches you off guard because the story doesn't start that way. It starts, after the beginning of it. So it was very, very interesting and definitely keeps you on your toes.
Yes, thank you.
And I love the fact you use Publix. That was amazing.
Oh yeah, I love Publix. It's been a little hard because I can't go there as often as I would like. Since this has all started, I used to go to Publix like 3 or 4 times a week, and it's just so pleasant and relaxed, and they're also competent, and they should really carry my book because
Right.
it's like a little advertisement for Publix.
So did you have to get like permission to use the name or?
No, I mean, it's not, I'm not saying that they're endorsing it. And I also, don't think I badmouth Publix. So, then I would probably have changed it if I didn't say anything bad about them.
Because it's like, I always wonder, like certain things that people view as like Disney and stuff in it, like where do you go from it being copyrighted where you can't use something? So that's pretty interesting.
Right. Well, I mean, I just mentioned that the main character
works there.
So, yeah.
So you're good. Let's see. All right, so we have a writing question. I know that one of your titles has been challenged in the past. I don't remember which one it was. How do you think censorship impacts the world of authors and readers? We're getting the deep questions now.
Okay. Well, that's a really interesting question. Breathing underwater has been challenged, and also Beastly, and they're kind of tough topics because not Beastly. Well, I've had some emails about Beastly, but Breaking Point. Breathing Underwater is about dating violence, and Breaking Point is about school violence. And I don't know. I think that there are sometimes people who think that characters should live in a perfect world or always set an example. And gosh, it's one of my pet peeves when people read like the first few chapters of a book and say, I don't think that this character is setting a good example for teenagers, when really the whole point of the book in a book like Breathing Underwater or Beastly is that the character grows and changes throughout the book. So it can't always be that a character is a complete paragon and, doesn't do anything wrong. You want the character to have some personal growth, which means they can't be a perfect person in the first place. I try not to let that really affect how I write. I mean, my books are tame compared to a lot of books, and so I think I'm good. If I were writing for younger kids, I might be more careful. I will say I have, as I've been writing more, I've started thinking more about who the reader is. Like, if somebody doesn't want something in a book because, it's a parent and they don't want to have to explain something to their kid that their kid might be completely ready to know about, then that's not really a problem for me. But I have found that there are some young readers who are offended by language, which kind of surprised me. I was reading things like The Godfather when I was 12 years old, so it never really occurred to me that somebody could be that offended by a 4-letter word. It's just a word. But I guess now I do think about whether things need to be in a book. But if it's important to the character, I'm writing about those characters and I want it to be realistic.
Right, which makes sense. I mean, and with other authors, like Sarah J. Maas and Twilight and stuff out there, I mean, that gets pretty heavy towards, the end of those series. So, I mean, I think your books, are pretty much perfect for the age group that they're set for. There's nothing like completely off the wall in them or anything like that.
Right. I mean, I've had people say, oh, well, you shouldn't show teenagers drinking at a party.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, teenagers drink at a party, and I mean, maybe not all of them, but there are teenagers that have parties like that. And I mean, my daughter went to some parties where people were drinking, and a lot of times the parents even know about it. So to say, I mean, I would say that I usually show getting drunk as being a bad idea.
Right.
There's a character who gets very wasted at a party in this book, and it turns out badly. She ends up being embarrassed and having to be led away by her friends and stuff like that. So I don't think I ever painted as that would be fun,
right?
but yeah, everybody's not perfect.
No, they're not. Let's see. So let's see. We have another writing question. When you found out that Basically was going to become a movie, did you scream to the rooftops, and did you get to work hand in hand with the cast and crew?
Yes, I screamed to the rooftops. I did not get to work hand in hand with the cast and crew. I kind of knew that I wasn't going to, and I resigned myself to that. I mean, it's Beauty and the Beast, so I knew that they weren't going to change anything. Yeah, they weren't going to change the ending. Which made me happy because that was kind of my nightmare. Like, I always thought it would be fun if they made a movie version of Breathing Underwater, but there are things about the ending, like it doesn't have a completely happy ending. And I've had readers write to me and say, oh, I wish it had ended another way, but I wanted it to end the way it ended. And I would be upset if they changed the ending. I knew they weren't going to change the ending to Beastly. And I don't know, I'm kind of weird. I kind of like going to a movie and having it be a little different from the book because it gives me something different to see. So, yeah, I mean, I know there will be people who are like, but Hermione's dress was supposed to be blue and it was pink, But, I mean, I think it's probably advisable not to read the book right before you see the movie version. Right. But there were things that they changed, that they added to the movie version of Beastly that I thought were kind of cool. So it was great seeing that. I thought Alex Pettyfer was probably born to play that role. Like, I thought he was really perfect, for that role. He kind of has that arrogant thing going. So that was a lot of fun. I got to go to the set and meet Alex and Vanessa Hudgens, and then at the premiere, I met Neil Patrick Harris, who I could not talk to when I was on set because they actually had him. His character was blind, and they had him in contact lenses that actually made him blind.
Oh, so I didn't know that.
So that it would be realistic. So he didn't talk to set visitors, but got to meet him at the premiere, and he was just as nice as you would hope Neil Patrick Harris would be. So that was kind of cool. So yeah, I didn't really get to work on it, but I did get to go visit the set and everything, which was a lot of fun.
I wish they would have made the other ones because that would have been a really awesome series to follow. I'm kind of hoping maybe because Netflix is picking up so much stuff, and so is Hulu. Maybe it'll get a reboot or something.
Yeah, no, that would be definitely cool. I also think, I always thought Girls of July would be a good Netflix series because it's so summery and it has the different characters with different things going on. So, that's the one that I keep my fingers crossed.
Read that one at Universal the other day.
Oh, really? Cool.
Had it with me. Always take a book, no matter where you go, because you never know how long lines are going to be, especially now.
Oh, wow. I once downloaded a book on my phone while waiting in line at the Hershey Park in Pennsylvania, which was great. Like, that's the great thing about ebooks. You can just get one on the fly.
Right? It's definitely nifty, especially these like gigantic books that keep coming out, because when a book, after about 500 pages, it gets kind of heavy.
True. Well, are you one of those people who rips your books in half?
Oh, God, no. No.
There was a thing going on around the internet about people who rip their book in half so they don't have to take the whole thing with them. Yeah.
No, I just grabbed the ebook, like my the Shadowhunter series. I have those all in ebook because those are massive. The Throne of Glass books, I have those in paperback and ebook. So, because those,
I'm really into audiobooks.
I have like the little ones.
Yeah, I'm really into audiobooks too, which is great because you don't have them taking up space. And
right, and then you can just
encourages me to go jogging so that I can listen to more of it.
And you can tune people out with those.
True.
So much nicer. Let's see. All right, so your last few books weren't retellings. Do you think you will ever go back to them?
I don't know. At this point, I've written a lot of retellings, so I'm not sure. If I did another retelling, I might do it for a younger audience. This book is kind of a reboot. It's not a fairy tale retelling, but it is a reboot of an older story. So it's kind of fun, when you think about an older story and you think, whether it's a fairy tale or some other kind of story, and think, okay, well, this doesn't really work now. What would make it work, or what would make it more interesting? I mean, I don't know. Like I wrote in Behold, I wrote a retelling of Rumpelstiltskin, and it was because it always bothered me, like, what was Rumpelstiltskin going to do with the baby? So I thought about, like, why does he want a baby? Well, of course he's lonely. So then I kind of went from there. But yeah, at this point, I have no plans for another retelling, but I never say never.
Right. I remember a movie that came out. It was a cartoon that came out forever ago, and it was like the fairy tales had taken over, and all the bad guys had won. And so Rumpelstiltskin got the baby, and then he's kind of like, why did I want this? So it's definitely something, definitely way to turn a story on its head. That's for sure. It's like, what are you going to do once you get it?
Exactly.
Let's see. So you've been a singer, a lawyer, and an author. Do you think that you will add anything else to your list of professions? And do you see yourself using the first two in any stories?
Well, I mean, I use the first two already. I mean, my first few books were about characters who were in the legal system in some way. One of them had a restraining order taken out against him by an ex-girlfriend. Another one was involved in planting a bomb in his school. And then the third one, Nothing to Lose, was about a guy whose mother is in jail for murdering her husband. So they were all kind of related to law and the court system. I also feel like going to law school is actually a really good, I mean, it's an expensive education for a writer if you're not going to actually practice law, but it is a good education because it kind of teaches you how to see things from all different sides, and not just see it from the supposed good guy's perspective, but to see it from all sides. I've used the music a lot. Diva was about a girl who wants to be an opera singer, and then Love Jacaranda is about a girl who gets a benefactor sees what a great singer she is and sends her to a performing arts high school to study musical theater. And then she doesn't know anything about musical theater. She's just thrust into a world where her classmates have all seen all these Broadway shows and taken all these dance lessons and singing lessons, and she hasn't done any of that. So she really immerses herself in musical theater in order to kind of catch up. So she gets a Amazon Prime and Netflix subscription so that she can watch every movie musical ever made. And then when she gets together with the guy that she meets in the book, he lives in New York City. So he invites her to New York City for the weekend to see all these Broadway shows and to take her to see. She's the only person she knows who's never seen Wicked, which, like, people have seen 5 or 6 times in her circle. So I definitely use the music in this book.
Yeah. So what are you working on now?
Actually, I'm working on something a little bit younger, and it's a kind of a time travel science fiction thing about a character whose father is kidnapped by aliens, and he finds out that the aliens are scheming to take over the world by destroying the environment. And they're traveling back in time to make environmental disasters happen. And so he has to try to time travel back to stop all these environmental disasters and also find his father.
Oh, wow. And that's going to be for juvenile fiction?
Yeah, that would be for younger kids.
Woohoo. Alrighty. Let's see. So you said 14 titles. Does it get any easier?
Some books are easier than others, but just because, I saw someone posted on social media the other day, oh, I wrote this rough draft in 2 months, and I've never done that before, and now I think I really understand. And I'm thinking, oh, you poor thing, because just because you write one book easily does not mean the next book is going to be easy. I've had certain books that were easy. Beastly was easy. This book was easy, but then the next one can be just as difficult. Oh. It just depends.
We have a write-in, Allie, the ever amazing Allie. She says the movie was called Ever After. Thank you, Allie. So there.
Okay.
So
Good. I'll have
that
to
is the
look for that.
movie. It is an animation. It is adorable and it is so funny.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
Let's see. So of course, everybody's been secluded to their homes for the most part. What have you been reading lately?
What have I been reading? I've read quite a few adult books, actually. I just read the Tea Girl of Hummingbird Lane by Lisa C. And it was interesting. It's about the tea industry in China. I caught up on some young adult books I hadn't read in the past, several books by Rainbow Rowell. Various different things. Like I said, I've been reading a lot, been listening to audiobooks while I jog, all sorts of things.
Love Rainbow Rowell's books. They're so good.
Yes.
Fangirl was adorable.
Yes, Fangirl was one of the books that I read. I was trying to remember the title. So, yeah.
So is there any books coming out that you're looking forward to?
I don't know. It's kind of hard. I'm not going anywhere, not seeing much of what's around. I know Barbara Botner, who used to be local to South Florida, now she's moved to California, has a book coming out next month called I Am Here Now, about a girl in the Bronx in the 1970s who wants to be a writer, and I think it's semi-autobiographical, and I actually read that a while ago and blurbed it. So that's something I'd recommend.
That is so cool. All right. Well, that looks to be all of the questions that we have for you today. Thank you guys for who wrote in. And thank you again for so much for coming on the show. Guys, I will be giving this out. So make sure to enter the Rafflecopter that will be posted here in a couple of minutes. And thank you again so much for coming on the show. Guys, make sure you join us tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for my chat with 3 different authors. Lori Forrest, the author of The Black Witch, will be joining us once again with being a guest host with 2 authors that she knows, Melissa A. Joy of Keys of the Origin and Celine Callan of Starlight. And hopefully I pronounced all those names correctly. So make sure to tune in tomorrow and we will catch you later. Bye.
Thank you.